Hello and welcome to this Engerati interview with Santhosh from RWE Supply and Trading. Very important distinction that to make because RWE is a massive company and there are lots of different divisions. So first of all, welcome. Thanks for taking the time. And you know, when we were preparing for this interview, we were talking a little bit about you know, how we can bring what you're doing to life a little bit, but I think the simplest way is just tell us what you're doing within RWE Supply and Trading. You're moving everything into the cloud. Give us a sense of the scale of the project, where you are, where you're going.
Okay. The project is to roll out a hybrid cloud for supply and trading to host our production and non-production applications. We started off with a public cloud first approach where we evaluate every application we have in our portfolio, which is about 146 applications.
So when you're talking about application, you're talking about a software application or a trading application, whatever it may be.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about every application which has an infrastructure, a server-side applications. It can be a trading app, or it can be an app which is supporting infrastructure teams or IT teams. So we started off with analyzing the applications for cloud suitability. Once that's done, we rolled out a plan to go with AWS to start with for our public cloud offering. We have about 60 odd applications which are confirmed to go into public cloud, and we are evaluating further 30 apps now to see if they can also go.
So when just in case people are watching who are not familiar with the terms, as you and I are, when you say an application going into the public cloud, that does not mean it's a public application.
It's not a public application. It's not going to be a public-facing application as well. When we talk about public cloud, it's the service provider we talk here, but it's the virtual private cloud we're creating, which can be only accessed from RWE Supply and Trade in a network.
Right.
So it's not public. It's all going to be internal applications.
Yeah, but the fact is you're using a public service provider who I could use or anybody else could use. So now that's interesting, right? Because I would imagine that some of these applications that you're migrating into the cloud have sensitivities associated to it.
Yeah, I think the important distinction to make here for cloud rollout is to identify what data you're taking into the cloud and to have a classification, whether it's public, internal, or confidential, or strictly confidential. So when we did the technical suitability, we also did a business impact assessment to say, what does this application contain? You know, can this be hosted elsewhere? If so, what type of data it is. So what we did was, once we identified the classification, we then rolled out the security controls required. If it's a public-facing data, less controls. If it's a highly sensitive data, it'll have more controls into it. That's how we've actually done the assessment.
And also there's an abstraction, isn't there? Because the application can exist in the cloud environment, but your data layer can exist or be accessed through various levels of security.
That's absolutely true. I mean, let me give you an example. You know, if you're talking about a strictly confidential data being migrated into public cloud, we're looking at encryption at rest, encryption at transit. We're looking at implementing all the identity and access management we have from the cloud providers, and then we also look at public key interfaces, who can access data. So I think we've taken enough procedures and processes to make sure that data which we're taking into the cloud needs to be given priority, and that's secured, and we own the responsibility for it. But we won't be worried about whether cloud is secure or not. That is something we will leave it to cloud service providers, but we'll only concentrate on services which we host, which belongs to us. We'll secure them.
Okay. So I'm going to keep on top of that narrative, but I want to bring in one other piece, which is when you make a decision to change paradigms effectively, which is what you're doing. You know, you do it for a reason.
Absolutely.
So can you give us a sense of, you know, what are the business benefits that that you are looking to derive out of that?
I think the way cloud be implemented, you will have more than one way of implementing it. But if you ask this question of why you're doing, what is the business benefit, I think most of them will say it's shorter time to market, high agility and flexibility, and cost reduction. I think that's three of our major benefits we are looking to business as well. I would also like to give an example where we rolled out an application in Germany, which is a customer-facing application in less than 4 weeks, hosted in cloud. We achieved that only by the means of cloud. If not for cloud, we probably will be looking at 6 months of effort to build the infrastructure required. That actually goes to prove the shorter time to market. Business gets the benefit more than anyone else.
And that speed to market is, or that agility is something that's been coming out in some of the talks we've been having about innovation within the utility sector, that you actually need to design the ability to be speedy into the business.
True.
And your ambition is to move every single application into the cloud.
Yeah, well, we're using a common term, cloud, but the phase one is to go with public cloud mostly, and there might be a few applications which we can't move for, technical reasons or sensitivity reasons. Those applications we'll look at migrating them into a private cloud estate. Yeah. But our approach is public cloud first. If it can't go into public cloud, then we look at on-prem and private estate.
And again, to get all the terminology right for people who are watching, when you're talking about applications, you're talking about, and I'll give an insane example to help. You're talking about applications that you're using within the business already, which are from other application providers. So this could be from companies like, maybe, I don't know, Oracle, SAP, or whatever.
Well, I mean, we don't consume that much software as service now. Yeah. We consume Oracle as a database, or we consume Microsoft for SQL Server database. Right. What we're doing now is we're looking at
building your own applications.
No, we already have our own bespoke applications. Right. We're looking at moving end-to-end estate, application tier, web tier, database tier, all of them into cloud to get the benefit of cloud. If you have a database running in on-prem solution, and if you're looking at an application tier in cloud, then the communication itself becomes difficult for us. So hence what we're doing is we're moving an application as a stack into the cloud.
Right, so the whole stack is going up there. Yeah. Let me rewind to the data piece, because I think it's an important one. I think
Absolutely.
It's an important one for also companies to understand.
Yeah.
And you left that comment with, we are taking responsibility on this side, so data security is ours, application security is the cloud provider. So I think that'd be a useful thing for you to maybe elaborate on, because that is one of the essence of these cloud service agreements, isn't it? And
I think it's a shared responsibility, and you need to understand it quickly to roll out a successful cloud piece for any organization. If we worry about whether cloud is secure, I don't think you can ever move an application into the cloud. Yeah. But if you realize that the services which you are building into the cloud is something you need to take care, if you have all the controls required, and if you give a due diligence to data classification and the criticality, then I think it becomes a lot easier for enterprises like us to move into the cloud.
And so we're now in this cloud environment, because, I mean, you've moved some applications, but the idea is we move everything. When you've done that, what do you, because we've already covered off the speed to market and all that, but what do you believe it's going to give to the business once you're in that environment? Are you going to see a sort of a step change of an ability to execute or whatever?
I think as industry is going to a paradigm shift, if you want to call it, if you identify a gap, you need the product now. Yeah. You don't want to wait for 6 to 12 months. I think that's again speed to market. For an IT organization like us, it gives a dynamic approach towards how we consume IT. Rather than making IT, if you consume it, then it becomes a lot easier for us to be dynamic and adapt to business requirements quicker. and also look at reducing the cost. I mean, cost is not an aspect which we've looked at primarily. We've focused on cloud and standardization and automation. Our CIO always keeps telling that, don't look at cloud as just a shiny piece of kit where you want to go to. Look at standardization and automation, because that actually yields you the cloud benefits. Whether it's on-prem solution or private cloud or public cloud, you have to standardize what you consume and you have to automate most of it.
Because it's one of those ironies as well, isn't it, where people think that standardization will stifle innovation, but actually it can make it explode.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's one of those little known facts about the Industrial Revolution, is that actually when people started standardizing nuts and bolts, there was a big explosion, whereas beforehand everybody had their own nut and their own bolt, and it was a nightmare, to fix stuff.
Absolutely, I completely agree with that. I mean, most of everything you talk about data now, they'll always talk about standardization, infrastructure, operating system you use, databases. There's the standardization element comes into picture in each layer to get the benefits of cloud.
And so, as we come to the close, you obviously did a lot of due diligence. You don't just select, and there are a lot of public cloud providers. Why AWS? I mean, what did you see in that stack that was appealing?
We are a German organization.
Right.
Data protection and data confidentiality was one of the factors.
Yeah.
We didn't want to go out of Germany.
Right.
I mean, we didn't want to move data out of Germany.
Yeah.
One of the requirements. And the services, what they offered to us, we had full stack.
Right.
We didn't have to worry about moving some into AWS, some into private cloud, or into Azure. It gave us a full package, and the flexibility at which we could consume as we need.
Yeah. And they've got a German data center as well.
Yeah, in Frankfurt.
Yeah.
So we're using both. They call zones for data centers.
Yes.
We're using both the zones, and the region is Frankfurt.
Yeah. And do you? And I suppose once you have standardized, and if you do want to offer the application to in another country, and AWS, I'm just trying to paint a picture about the flexibility of AWS doesn't have a stack.
Then you can
quite easily
absolutely. I think that's an important point here.
Yeah.
We've standardized the infrastructure layer, the service management layer, the middleware layer, and the application layer. For us, it doesn't matter where the infrastructure comes from. It can be AWS or Azure or private cloud or on-prem solution. As long as all the layers are standardized and automated, we could move workloads as well. That gives the vendor independence as well. So I think, standardization and automation is a key.
So just to close off, that conversation I was having 3 years ago, will you adopt cloud in this sector and everything? It seems like it's finished, right?
We've been discussing for 4 years now.
Right.
Okay, so I completely understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I think it's time where most of the companies do understand the benefits.
Yeah.
And as far as supply and trading goes, we are the front leaders when it comes to adapting something new in the market. So
it only takes one or two, and then
positive business cases, and then
that's it. Well, listen, Santhosh, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for taking the time. Thank you as well for watching. Many more of the expert interviews on Engerati, and many more coming up in our sort of expert month-long series as well. So thank you again for watching.
Thank you.